Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, and today I'll be reading a multi-character listener by me. So let's get into it. Feixiao. The tension in the room was suffocating. You stood across from Feixiao. Her usually calm and serene demeanor shattered as she paced back and forth, her fists clenched at her sides. Why do you always have to be so reckless? Do you ever think about how your actions affect me? She yelled, her voice trembling with frustration. You flinched at her words, the guilt gnawing at your chest. Feixiao, I couldn't stand there and do nothing. I was only trying to help. She stopped pacing and turned to face you, her fiery gaze locking onto yours. Helping doesn't mean throwing yourself into danger without a second thought. What would I do if something happened to you? Her voice cracked slightly, betraying the worry beneath her anger. And you took a step closer, your heart aching at the sight of her so upset. I didn't mean to scare you, you said softly. I couldn't bear the thought of you getting hurt. Her eyes softened for a moment before she sighed, pressing a hand to her forehead. You always say that. But do you even understand what it's like for me? Watching you take risks like that. It terrifies me. I'm sorry. I'll try to be more careful, I promise. He said earnestly, reaching out to take her hand. She hesitated, her gaze flickering between your face and your hand, before she finally let out a resigned sigh. You better mean that, because I can't lose you. You pulled her into a gentle embrace, feeling her body relax against yours. You won't. I'll always come back to you. You whispered, pressing a kiss to her temple. And she buried her face in your shoulder, her voice muffled, but laced with a quiet vulnerability. You'd better. Acheron. Jealousy was a burning fire in your heart. As you yelled, your voice louder than you intended. Why was he so close to you, Acheron? You snapped, the words stumbling out before you could stop them. And Acheron froze, her dark eyes narrowing as she processed your tone. Her usual calm dissolved into sharp irritation. Are you serious right now? You're jealous over something that doesn't even matter, she asked, her voice dangerously quiet. They were practically hanging off of you. How am I supposed to feel? He countered, crossing your arms. Her jaw tightened, and for a moment, she looked away as if trying to contain herself. But then she turned back, her gaze serious. You're supposed to trust me. Have I ever given you a reason not to? You faltered, the intensity of her words hitting you like a wave. No, but nothing. I'm with you. I chose you, and yet, you're standing here questioning me like I've betrayed you. I wasn't. You started, but you really couldn't find the words. Not that it mattered, because then her hand shot up, silencing you. You were. Do you even realize how ridiculous this is? I shouldn't have to defend myself for being polite to someone. You opened your mouth to argue, but the weight of her words settled over you, silencing your thoughts. She was right. She had never given you a reason to doubt her. And now your jealousy had turned into an ugly accusation. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, She sighed, the anger in her posture softening slightly as she stepped closer. Just don't doubt me, because I'm yours. Always. Your chest tightened, and you nodded as she pulled you into a gentle embrace. I trust you. I'm sorry, Acheron. She leaned into you, her arms wrapping around you tightly. That's fine. I'm glad you acknowledge it now. Kafka. The apartment was unusually quiet. The kind of silence that felt heavy, suffocating. You and Kafka stood on opposite sides of the room, glaring at each other. The argument had started over something trivial, a misplaced item, perhaps, but it had spiraled out of control. Words sharper than any of you intended, cutting deeper than they should have. You always do this. Kafka snapped, her usually calm, teasing tone replaced with raw frustration. Her eyes, they looked wild with the way she was angry. You blow the smallest things out of proportion, and I'm always the one cleaning up after your mess. Your hands balled into fists at your sides. Don't act like you're perfect, Kafka. You shot back, the words laced with bitterness that you immediately regretted. You manipulate everything around you. Why should this be any different? The second the words left your mouth, you saw her flinch. It was subtle, barely noticeable, but you knew her well enough to see the hurt in her eyes before she masked it behind a cold glare. Fine. If that's how you see me, then why are you even here? She said, her voice quieter but no less cutting. And your heart sank, the weight of your own words crashing down on you. Kafka, I didn't mean... No, you don't get to say that and take it back. The silence returned, heavier than before, and for a moment, the two of you just stood there, the weight of the argument pressing down on you. And finally you stepped closer, her voice softer. I'm sorry, Kafka, I didn't mean it. I shouldn't have said it. She huffed softly, looking away, and she sighed. I need a moment. Excuse me. And then she left. And perhaps you'd messed up more than you initially actually thought, and you certainly had to do a lot to earn her forgiveness.